host Ashley, and today we are discussing the song Closure from Evermore, which was Ashley's pick. As always, we are not therapy, but we are a great time, and we hope you enjoy this most recent episode. Ashley, can you tell us what made you choose this song?
I chose this song for a number of reasons. One was I feel like we talk about closure with clients frequently. And I feel like Taylor in this song is putting words to something that I think is really important, which is that she wants authenticity in apologies and in interactions. And what she's addressing here is an inauthentic apology or attempt for closure, which happens often. So I think she does a really good job of having a backbone, good boundaries, and not she sees right through this attempt to um, make things better. Like one of my favorite lyrics that was in quotes for anybody who's listening and not watching. One of my favorite lyrics is I can feel you smoothing me over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I hear that lyric and not want to dive into this?
Yes, yes. As I was preparing for this, excuse me, episode, I kept thinking, what a great choice, Ashley. What a fabulous choice. I'm really excited to dive into this because I agree with all of your points.
Oh, thank you. So, I would love to share the lyrics I'm going to be covering.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, before I do that, the lyric video has closure in quotes, which I think says everything that you need to know. Um, but the lyrics that stood out to me were don't treat me like some situation that needs to be handled. I can feel you smoothing me over. I know I'm just a wrinkle in your new life. Staying friends would iron it out so nice.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that the lyric video had that word like closure in quotation marks. That does say a lot. I am so glad. What a very subtle but important detail that you've highlighted. Thank you for that. Let's dive in, Ashley. What questions would you ask the song as a client?
How do you decide who's worth forgiving? Would you say you found closure without talking to this person, or does it still feel raw to you?
Hmm.
And what caused you to be skeptical?
Oh, the what caused you to be skeptical? Like, what's your evidence for, like, yeah, how are you reading the situation? Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah, and not like questioning it, right? Like not like saying, I don't believe you, but tell me what happened to make you
Yeah.
feel or think this way.
What was the first question that you asked again?
How do you decide who is worth forgiving?
Oof. Can you speak more to that? Because that feels like a very loaded question to
It
unpack.
is a very loaded question. Yeah, so I think when we are working with clients, it context is really important. So with this question, I'm kind of testing out like, okay, does this person struggle to forgive in general? Does this person struggle to forgive this other person specifically, like for like additional things that have happened in their life? Has this person forgiven this person and just wants to move on? Like what is our threshold for what forgiveness is and how we get our own closure with or without the other person's presence?
And I think you're like, I mean, what you're saying is making me ask the question, are closure and forgiveness the same thing?
Yeah, great question. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I feel like our song agrees.
I I think you're right.
There's a few poignant words that just tell me, oh, our song is on your side on this. Even You and the client, same page here. You're vibing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. What do you think the difference is between closure and forgiveness?
That's a really, really insightful question. I think closure to me feels like a burial, and forgiveness feels like release.
Forgiveness feels like release, and closure is a burial.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think that closure and forgiveness can go together. I don't think they always go together. But closure, I think, is just closing a door or burying something. Like, here's a hole, and I'm going to cover it up. And eventually things will grow over it, but it will always be there. And I feel like forgiveness, as I understand it, I think one of my favorite metaphors that so far that I've heard for forgiveness is that forgiveness is like taking somebody else's hooks out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that to follow that metaphor, if you have removed somebody's hooks, then you are released
Mm-hmm.
from it.
Releasing yourself.
You've released yourself. You are saying like I don't need anything more from you. I'm taking myself out of this and I'm letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, it's just it's not necessary. It's not seeking anything more from that person or that situation. It's just I'm releasing myself from the situation and from the ways that I have been affected. And I think closure is just burying it. I think it always stays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's just
You think it's what?
covered up.
Covered up. Okay.
Something's been
Yeah.
covered. I'm really curious how that lands on you and what your thoughts and feelings are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. I hadn't thought about this before this. So I'm still processing a little bit. I think, yeah, I don't know that I have anything else to add. I think I might be chewing on that for a little while because in both scenarios, right? Like if somebody's hooks are in you, you're probably going to have a scar even once you're gone, right? Like we're not going to pretend that that didn't happen in either scenario.
Correct.
It definitely happened. Forgiveness, I think, is allowing yourself to not like ruminate or like, no, I think that's closure. I really need to chew on that. I do. Like I think of closure as not going back to it. I think forgiveness is a decision as often as you need to make it. Like I think forgiveness is more of like an action that you have to continue doing if it's a goal of yours.
Yeah.
Um,
I've said that like forgiveness is a renewed commitment. Is that what
yeah,
I'm trying to say?
a renewed commitment.
Yeah, like I've said like I forgive somebody and then like, later I might be ruminating on it or I might be feeling those feelings about it or I might be like wanting to harm that person or get revenge or something like that. Then hey, nope, I've released them, I've forgiven them. I'm gonna return to that commitment that I made to forgive them. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by like a renewed commitment. Like I keep coming
Yeah.
back to the decision that I've made.
Yeah. Yeah. Commitment to forgiving, not commitment to that other person.
Correct. Yes, good
Okay.
distinction.
Okay. Yeah, because I think there is a misconception about forgiveness that like we have this saying, right? Like forgive and forget. Like it's very hard to forget things,
Yeah, it's
right?
not the way it works. Yeah. Two thumbs down for that saying in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. But actively uh, honoring, I'm going to use the word honoring, not in like a positive way necessarily, but like being able to say, this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and I am willing to say, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not hold it so tightly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and keep pointing to it. What do you think, like closure doesn't affect you as much anymore? Like once you've had closure, it doesn't continually come up even though the memory is there? What do you think?
Mm, I don't. This is an interesting question because I have thought a lot about the difference between, being affected by something and coming to a conclusion over something. And I think that,
Yeah.
like you said, if there were hooks put in my back, like the scars will always be there. So I'm not forgetting. That's not the way that memory works, and nor should I forget. I don't think that forgetting is in any way necessary part of moving forward. I think in fact it's more important to remember. But you're changing your relationship to the memory. Um, and so I think that emotions come up and will continue to come up, and you will continue to be affected by something. But how you respond, that's what I mean by changing the relationship. Like the choices you make in response to those memories and those emotions, I think are the difference between whether or not you've forgiven or you've just given yourself closure. And again, I think those things can go together. I don't think they have to.
Hmm. Do you think you can have closure without forgiving?
From my perspective, could there be like closure without forgiveness? Like, yes. And if somebody wanted to go that way, I'd be like, okay, blessings on you, like peace. Like, do
So
your
does that look like, I guess I'm trying to understand what that looks like. Like, does that look like not, it wouldn't look like not feeling those feelings anymore, not thinking about it, but still having those feelings when it comes to mind?
I think the highest quality of closure is that I'm no longer feeling trapped by those feelings.
You're not feeling trapped by those feelings.
Yeah, yeah. Like, because I think that feelings are there to give us a message. I think feelings are there to help us move through a process. And I think that, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing a great job of explaining this right
No, I think that's a really good way to put it. Like, not feeling like you're in a cage anymore, but
now. Yeah,
still saying, like, that was
yeah, like,
unforgivable.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was really curious about your thoughts on that. So thank you for sharing. I don't know that I've come to like a clear conclusion on where I land on it. Um, I think maybe closure to me feels like something that you don't have to go back to. Like it's there. It definitely happened. You can remember it if you need to. And memorialize it. If you're thinking about burying, like you can remember that that happened, but forgiveness feels like those feelings are still very active and still very raw, and you're choosing to say, like, one, acknowledge the feelings, right? I'm not saying ignore the feelings, acknowledge the feelings always. But say, like, I can forgive that this happened. I can forgive that this person did this thing to me. And continuing to do that as often as you need to, if that feels like a goal of yours.
So are you saying that like that one of the differences being that like I guess what are you saying the difference between forgiveness and closure being like because you said closure is like I don't need to talk about this anymore or I don't need to deal with this anymore. Then what would forgiveness be?
So I think forgiveness to me seems like the feelings are still very like intense, and like you're wanting to move forward. So you're acknowledging the feelings, and you are like in the process of healing and come to the conclusion that you want to forgive this person. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship will be the same. You can definitely remember that this has happened, but that you are not going to hold it against them anymore.
Okay. So like are you saying that forgiveness is basically process and closure is the end of that process? Like you're
I
not
think so. But I hear what you're saying too, that like closure could be boundaries without forgiveness, I think is what you were saying. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna. think about this. I do not forgive you. I'm just going to move forward.
Yeah,
I think there could be a sense of closure with that too.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I think you summed that up really well. And I've been saying that like closure is basically like boundaries without forgiveness, whereas forgiveness is still holding the boundaries, but it's like releasing yourself as well.
Hmm.
And in a sense, that other person, right? Because you're saying like I'm releasing you from anything that I have to do with you. Like I'm releasing you and I, like our everything between us. I'm releasing.
Hmm.
Whereas like closure is not necessarily doing that at all. In the same way, I think it's doing that very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're right that it can be connected, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Hmm. Yeah. And I appreciate what you said, and I agree with it. I feel like this is what I feel and think today with open hands, like with this
Yes.
change, like 100%. I would expect it to because I have a lot of life to live yet, and beliefs, feelings, experiences change and inform where we sit with things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've never put words to that before, so I appreciate you talking that through with me.
Yeah. No, me either.
So let's do some validation now that we have that cleared up.
Let's do validation. What would you validate or normalize here?
I would say you have self-respect and are allowing consequences to happen, which can be uncomfortable for both sides. So she's allowing that person to reach out and she's allowing herself to not respond, which is the perfect example of an option of a boundary, right? Like you just you there's somebody close in my life who says you do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. It's just, you know, you
Yeah.
can do what you would need to do, and I'm going to do me over here, and we don't have to actually interact. Okay, so challenge wise, I
Mhm.
had something very short and simple. And I even hesitated to challenge anything because if somebody is like, somebody doesn't just come to this conclusion without a lot of experience with this other person, I feel,
Mhm.
or in life. You know, like there's clearly an intense story here.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
so to challenge without a lot of context feels hard and maybe even like cheap.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but if we're looking at just the data that we have, I would say don't assume without evidence. And again, this person clearly has reasoning to know that like this closure is cheap. Um, but I would like to know what that evidence is as a therapist, right? Like, tell me what's making this cheap. Not that I'm like the ultimate judge of what is or isn't, but I really want to know where you're coming from to get to that point. Does it have to do with this person specifically, or has it been other stuff in your life that's kind of informing that
Right.
maybe a generalization or something?
Correct. Correct. Yes. And I think you're being really respectful to like, there's a lot about the situation I don't know, so I'm not speaking to the situation, but in general, I would want somebody to draw a differentiation between like a lens that has been informed by past experiences and whether that is the appropriate lens for this particular situation.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
tracking. That's a really good challenge.
Thank you. It felt really hard to write because I'm like, with so many disclaimers, I say
Yes, I
this.
feel that with you. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Recommendation wise, I was thinking like if you still are feeling those feelings like really intensely or like if it still feels really raw, seeking closure for yourself, even if it doesn't involve the other person. And that could or could not include like forgiveness, as we just belabored the point on. But I think there's something to be said for allowing your body to go through the emotional processing, right? If it still feels raw, like you don't have to come to a conclusion immediately after something happens. Allow
Mhm,
yourself the time and the luxury of processing in a
mhm,
healthy way before coming to a conclusion. Um, if it's been a long time or you feel like you've done that and you're not sure where to go from there, that's a great time to bring in a therapist or a close friend and say, like, okay, this is what I'm stuck on. Like, this is why I'm still feeling raw, and validate those feelings. Like, those feelings are there for a reason. Um, and that those conversations don't have to include this other person who clearly doesn't want to acknowledge the reality of how this has affected you.
Yes, yes, exactly. So what I really hear you highlighting is like you do not have to like mix um like somebody's like just because like you've gotten closure doesn't necessarily mean that you have to repair with this other person essentially.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's such a good way to put it. Like, you don't have to repair the relationship in order to get closure.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Exactly. Um, and then encouragement wise, I would say you're doing well honoring yourself in this, knowing that this other person doesn't seem to be taking accountability, isn't taking responsibility. And it's not your responsibility to reassure someone else when they aren't willing to acknowledge the pain they've caused.
Ooh, accountability. Accountability. Can you speak more to this?
Yeah. So I think there are times when somebody wants, the only word I can think of is reassurance. Like, they want you to say that everything is fine without saying, I'm sorry, or I acknowledge that this pain happened, or I acknowledge what I did to cause this. And when you don't reassure that it was okay, you're showing them that it was painful. You're honoring yourself in that and acknowledging that you don't have to make everything okay for their feelings.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are responsible for their feelings, just like
Yes.
you are responsible for yours.
Yes. 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 That is so good. That is so, so good. Because basically, like, if we walk this down the road in the opposite direction, if somebody who really hurt you came back and said, hey, I want to be friends again, but they never wanted to acknowledge their behaviors, then it could be a form of people pleasing, right? Of minimizing yourself in order for someone else's comfort. And in this song, like the writer is not doing that. Like the song is saying, like, nope, I was hurt, you know it, and I know it, and I'm not gonna let that go unaddressed.
Hmm. And the lyrics that I referenced earlier show that perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know I'm just a wrinkle in your new life. Staying friends would iron it out so nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that this reassurance would cause you to feel okay about everything that you've done, which is
Yeah.
why I'm not giving it to you because it's
Yeah.
not, and you're still not seeing it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. This song, I think, in a word, is like backbone.
Yep. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Katie, I'm dying to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Let's dig in.
Yeah.
Some lyrics that I'm going to highlight are It's been a long time. It cut deep to know ya, right to the bone. Yes, I got your letter. Yes, I'm doing better. I know that it's over. I don't need your closure. Don't treat me like some situation that needs to be handled. I'm fine with my spite and my tears and my fears and my candles. I can feel you smoothing me over.
Oh,
Again,
let's do it. What questions would you have for this person?
you say it's been a long time. I wonder if time alone is not healing you.
I wonder.
I wonder. Um, so that would be the perspective of the person saying that, right? Like time has passed, right? And I think that that signals like this person, like it's been a long time, like a long time since it happened, a long time since you've been in contact with this person, a long time since you got the letter, like what's been a long time, right? There's a lot of pieces here, and maybe it's been a long time and the person's just now reaching out to like say something about it. We don't know. All we know is that time has passed and you have a lot of feelings, right? So like time is not the ingredient. And I know people like to say that time heals all wounds. And I'm here to tell you it's a big fat lie.
Yep.
Time is just time. That's all that it is. It is not the healer. It is a thing that happens. Um, what? You just started laughing.
Just the way you put it. It's not a healer, it's a thing that happens.
Well, I don't know how to say it. So, um, and I would ask, do you have closure? You say you don't need theirs, but do you have it for yourself? And do you even want it? How do you think your life will change if you had closure?
Mm,
How would your life look if you didn't get closure? Have you walked out the scenarios? And what about the passing of time has influenced that process for you?
hmm Yeah, what does closure mean to this client?
Yes, yes, yes. Because you're talking a lot about their need for it, but I'm not necessarily hearing you reference your own closure in it, just that you don't want theirs. So,
hmm
where are you? Could we focus the process away from this other person for a second and towards your own process and bring you into the center here? Because this is your session, this is your story, this is your process. So that's what I'd want to tease out with this client.
hmm Yeah, that's really good. Really good questions. What would you validate about this client's experience?
You're angry and for valid reasons.
Yeah.
Like we discussed with what you had to say, Ashley, which was awesome. The song is backbone, right? And anger is that backbone, right? I'm gonna reference a movie, Inside Out, that was produced by Pixar, and for Disney. I don't know, someone correct me. But anyway, there's this. It's a movie about emotions, and there's this one scene that's my absolute favorite. It's where fear is at the console, right? It's in control of like the little girl's mind, right? And then anger joins fear at the console and like punches fear out of the way. And I like love that comedic like depiction of how like anger is there to say like if you're afraid, get out of the way because I'm upset about something. I'm going to assert myself. I'm going to let the world know that this was not okay and that I'm not okay with it, right? And so you're not ready to talk to the person who's hurt you and you don't want to be pacified, right? Don't treat me like some situation that needs to be handled. I'm fine with my spite, right? And I want to get into some of the specific words there, like the spite, the tears, the beers, the candles, like the feeling of being soothed over, right? Anger is there to say, like, no, you're not going to do that. And I think that that's a really good thing that anger is basically pushing this other person out of the equation and saying, like, I'm going to do this. I'm
hmm
going to decide what my process is, and you don't get to determine my process for me. Which sometimes when we want to stay in a relationship and we don't want it to end, we feel like our anger has to somehow be accommodated in order to make this work. And in this situation, anger saying, like, nope, like you don't get a say in how I process this. This is my process, which is good. That is an important part of healing, is for your process to take up space and not to accommodate somebody else's, especially at the beginning, right? Like that can shift and evolve, but not at the start.
hmm Yeah. I love that you brought up Inside Out. Like that's such a beautiful way to put that. That's
I've
great.
never met a therapist who didn't love that movie. So for our
I
listeners, if you haven't watched
know.
it, it's a gold mine. It actually is based on really good mental health theory. It was crafted from IFS or internal family systems based off of Dr. Richard Schwartz. It's incredible. So,
So good. What would you challenge?
well,
Oh,
actually,
sorry,
I
did
have
you have
a
more?
few more things I could validate.
Oh my goodness. Validate away.
Two more things. So sometimes we don't get the closure that we want from situations, and we need to do that ourselves. And we also need to practice a level of acceptance, right? What could acceptance sound like? You can make acceptance statements, right? And that could sound something like, this is a fact. X, Y, and Z happened. I feel X, Y, and Z. You're not criticizing it, you're not judging it, you're not making any kind of conclusions. All you're saying is that it happened, right? Statements of facts are really good starting places for acceptance. Feeling your feelings. Again, not judging, not criticizing, not trying to minimize them. And acceptance can also look like redirecting your mind and setting parameters and boundaries for your thoughts and behaviors, which is really crucial when it comes to ruminating, which for all of us people out there who have minds that just tend to spiral and ruminate on situations, this is for you and me, right? So this could look like I'm in a spiral, right? That's just a statement, right? I'm gonna switch tasks right now. I'm gonna focus on that for 5 minutes, and when the thought returns, notice I said when, not if, because it often does just come back. I'll acknowledge it and I'll transition back to my task, right? Like that's a way to like practice acceptance and to interrupt rumination cycles. Um, and I think that's a really crucial part of closure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit of the educational side of things or kind of the practical hows, but I wanted to throw that in there. So I'm ready to move on to chat.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. What would you challenge?
So similar to you, I just want to acknowledge your nuance because I thought it was so thoughtful. And my challenge is actually very parallel and close to yours. So the person in this letter perceives that the other person wants to get closure to soothe their own feelings, but not necessarily because they're sorry. And so what I want to highlight here with nuance, like you said, not having the evidence, not knowing if this is a lens that's being misappropriated in the situation or whatnot, it's a perception. And I'm not saying that the songwriter is wrong about their perception.
Mm-hmm.
Their perception could be very accurate. And motivation is an internal experience. And it's very hard to know somebody's internal experience unless they put that into words or unless their behavior very clearly spells that out in a way that makes it kind of undeniable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that really all you have to go from is somebody's words and their behaviors, and from their behaviors, a conclusion is drawn.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to say because sometimes we soothe our own feelings by interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to hold someone else's interpretation. And I'm really preaching to the choir here because I can do this, right? I can assign meaning and interpretation to somebody else's. So it's just with very like gentleness that I point this out to clients of like, you are coming to a conclusion about the other person and they haven't said that.
Mm-hmm.
You could be right. And, and we just need to hold this tension here. So that's the piece. And then similar to you said, closure doesn't equal repair. There's kind of the 3 R's that I like to talk about, which is repentance, reconciliation, and restoration. So repentance is changing behavior. Reconciliation is reconnecting with the other person, often for the purpose of repair. Um, doesn't have to include repair, but it's kind of opening the door potentially. And restoration is restoring the relationship to something new, moving forward from that. And they're each separate, and you don't need to do them. I mean, really, you'd only need the other person for the last step. You can
Mm-hmm.
do one, none, or two, right? Doesn't matter. But yeah, those are just some thoughts around challenging how to navigate a situation like this.
Yeah. Can you say the 3 R's again, just for our listeners?
Repentance, which is changing behavior, reconciliation, which is reconnecting with the other person, or creating an opportunity for repair, and restoration, which is restoring the relationship to something new.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And a cameo from the cat.
Taco. For anybody who's watching, that was my cat Taco.
And then what recommendations would you have for this person?
If you want to forgive, if you want to get closure, and to be clear, not everybody wants forgiveness or closure. And like we discussed, those are two different things. Not everyone feels like it's necessary, etc. In either scenario, it can't be rushed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about forgiveness here because I think that this is often used as a way to wrap up something and put a neat bow on it to package it up.
Yep.
And it's kind of used as a stamp of like, I've moved on, but emotions don't work that way. We can't decide to move on and then our emotions automatically follow. Now, there is evidence to say that we can decide something and our emotions can follow, but it takes time, right? Like it's not an automatic process. And so be very careful of trying to assign a timeline or a time expectation to your process. So please give yourself space here.
Mm-hmm. And not just time, right? Because time is just a thing that happens, but
You're right. You're right.
intentional processing, like intentionality behind how you're using that time to move forward.
Yeah, yeah. Love that you brought that full circle. Thank you.
Love a callback.
Love a callback. And then my final thoughts on encouragement. Um, yeah, you don't need someone else's closure to get yours. Closure is personal. It's a process, and it may involve somebody else. It doesn't have to. And I think that sometimes when we rely on other people, it's actually giving them a lot of power in the situation.
Hmm.
And you have to do this before I can, which is just limiting your own autonomy and your own choice. So to step into that power. So yeah, those are some things that I would encourage. And I think again, this person at some point in the therapy process, I might revisit the concept of like spite, because that's a very specific word that does, like, in the definition of it, bring harm to somebody else, like retribution, right? Seeking out something like that. So I would encourage somebody to kind of like process a little bit, like, hey, let's just think about this. Like, I don't think I'd even put this as a challenge right now. I think I'd just put it as like an encouragement. Like, let's circle back to this at some point if you're open to it, right?
Hmm.
Is it
Hmm.
sounding like you still need something? Like you still need some kind of get back from this? And I'm kind of curious about it. Like, what is it that you need? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really good. Anything else you want to say about this song?
that sums it up, I think.
All right. Well, thanks, listeners, for joining us on our episode with Closure from Evermore. If you want to follow us on Instagram, we are at Therate Podcast. If you have a song to request, you can do so at theratepodcast@gmail.com. And thank you, Jeremy, for editing this podcast. Have a great day.